What's up, guys? I'm going to be doing a quick little NXT In Your House review. Now, this pay-per-view, spitting everywhere. This pay-per-view happened last night, and it was a pretty decent pay-per-view. I'd say it kind of fell off after hmm, maybe the first two matches. I mean, some of the matches definitely didn't live up to the expectations that I had, and I have not watched NXT, to be honest, in a good couple of months. I've not much watched much wrestling in the past couple of months because I feel like it's or it became too much of a chore, and it got pretty boring and pretty outlandish, and yeah, I just kind of fell out of wanting to watch it, and so I decided to come back, and this is what I come back to: NXT In Your House. Now, I will say the graphics were pretty cool. If the main roster has like a Backlash or a pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell, I mean, they're not gonna really decorate it how they used to, and so it was pretty refreshing to see this NXT In Your House layout. And so first you get a performance by Code Orange, and I know Code Orange has done a few songs with some of the roster in the WWE, and they have been working together for a good while. And that's actually how I found out about Code Orange, and I really like their music. And that was a dope ass song that they performed in the beginning, and so that kind of set the theme or set the tone for the rest of the show. And so you started off with a women's match. It was a 3-on-3, and I'm not familiar with any of these women other than Candice LeRae. And so you had Dakota Kai, you had Raquel Gonzalez, Candice LeRae versus Mia Yim, Tegan Knox, and Shotzi Blackheart. A couple minutes into the match, you had Raquel Gonzalez, who caught Shotzi Blackheart in the middle of a tope suicida. Now, this wasn't super clean, but it was definitely cool nonetheless, and it kind of showcased the strength of Raquel Gonzalez. I mean, she's a beast, and you'll see that throughout this match. And also, I guess this little spot, this is where most of the women showcase their one little high flying move. Everybody's got to get their stuff in. And now normally the WWE will show everyone kind of awkwardly lining up, trying to get in place to be to have the other person come off the top and fall on them, but the camera cut away from that gladly, and you didn't see them kind of like awkwardly standing there. The heels about midway started to have a few mishaps. Tegan Knox did a great job, I would say, trying to chop down Gonzalez when they were both in the ring together. Her punches were crisp and clean, not like what you normally see women throwing those horrendous elbow punches. In the end, Knox pinned Dakota Kai. I would say this was really an awesome match. It was my favorite match of the night by far. I'd say this should have went on last. The baby faces, they took advantage of the heels' clumsiness. Next, we get this silly ass little promotional ice cream cake commercial. Not even a chocolate ice cream cake. It's freaking vanilla, and I don't even like chocolate really, to be honest. But I mean, who wants to eat a damn vanilla ice cream cake? Yeah, it was silly. Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. Priest walks out first. He's huge, man. So he looks a little silly and is dressed in his all black. I mean, I don't know, his demeanor mm, isn't as sinister and menacing as I would think. So Damian Priest, he gets back the upper hand and basically gets the upper hand for uh, the most part of the match. He rams Balor into the steel post, and he does this sick ass backdrop slash splash, standing on the steps onto the apron. That looked super devastating, and that's where you kind of see him start to uh, break the back of Finn Balor. He focused a lot on his back, a lot on his tailbone. It was very, very impressive. Priest then starts to take control of the match. He starts working that shoulder. I don't know if it was the shoulder that Balor injured a few years ago when he had to relinquish the Universal Championship, but he definitely started working on that shoulder a little bit. I would say Balor was barely able to take Damian Priest off of his feet until it was like he reversed a suplex and he stopped him outside of the ring. There was a great sequence of reversals there where Balor basically won the sequence of reversals in the end when he did the double foot stop onto the mat. It was a very interesting spot this was, I guess you would say, 6 minutes before the match ended, you can hear the ref mention, I don't know who he was talking to, but he said, "You have 6 minutes left, get him out of there." And so at that point, I thought he was talking to Priest, and so I thought that Damian Priest was going to win the match. So after that, Balor starts to gain a little bit momentum. He's going to the top rope for a coup de grace, but he gets choke slammed off the top rope. Man, Priest was going for a razor's edge after that off the apron, but Balor reverses it, and Priest gets pushed back first onto the steel steps, and that was kind of the turning point of the match. And Balor ended up winning the match. It was a pretty hard hitting, good match, I would say. That might have been my second favorite match of the night, I would say. Next, we have Keith Lee versus Johnny Wrestling, Johnny Gargano, and I would say this is kind of where I started to doze off or lose interest in this show. I mean, I guess you say right off the bat, you kind of see the strength and the advantage that Lee's going to have over Gargano. Gargano tries to escape actually, and he tries to go into the house. He tries to go inside the door, but then he realizes that he locked the door and he can't get in. But then he forgets that he put the key in his little tidy whities. So I don't get the logic behind that. Yeah, like I said, I kind of zoned out during that part of the match. I would say it was too performancy. Just a lot of unnecessary facial expressions. It's like they were playing to the crowd, but there wasn't much of a crowd there. Um, there was one spot where Gargano raked the eyes of Keith Lee for felt like 5 minutes. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Can you please do something? So I guess Keith Lee had been previously injured, his eye, both of his eyes, or his hand, and I'm guessing that that's what Johnny Gargano was working at. There was a spot where Johnny Gargano needed to get Lee into the ring, and obviously he's not going to be able to pick him up and roll him inside the ring. So he goes inside the ring and he actually breaks the count. The referee's kind of yelling at him, like, "Hey, what are you doing, man? Get him inside the ring." Gargano goes back on the outside to deal with Keith Lee, only to be rammed into the plexiglass. That was a pretty cool spot. I'd say my favorite spot of the match. So much for social distancing. I see that you had two run-ins, Candice LeRae and who was it? I don't think it was Dakota Kai. Mia Yim, yeah, Mia Yim. They both ran in. I guess they started fighting each other. I'm like, what's the point of this? Maybe they have some type of storyline that's been going on, and since I haven't been watching it, so I guess someone can explain that to me. I'm not really sure. So then Gargano pulls the keys out of his pants and he takes the keys and he pokes Keith Lee in the eye. What a chicken shit hill. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough. And then Gargano gets super frustrated when he can't put Keith Lee away. And in the end, Keith Lee wins the match. He puts Johnny Gargano away. Finally, it remains the North American champion. All in all, I would say this was my least favorite. It was just uneventful, not really exciting, even though you had a run in. It was boring. It's boring, just plain and simple. And I know that Johnny Gargano can do better, so I was super surprised when I saw the match and I saw the layout. I'm like, this is Johnny wrestling. Like, this is Johnny Takeover. He normally has the best matches of mm, takeovers every time one rolls around. And to see this was pretty disappointing. But hey, you win some, you lose some. You can't put on a barn burner 5-star match every single time. Next, we have a backlot brawl, Adam Cole versus the Velveteen Dream. Now, these two have faced off with each other before, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a fan of Velveteen Dream's matches. I feel like there's a lot of what's the word for it? Like hokey pokiness that goes into a lot of his matches. A lot of taunting, just uh, a lot of wasting time, but I guess that's a part of his character. That's a part of his act. So Cole shows up in a big truck. I'm guessing he's overcompensating for his shorter stature. I'd imagine. And then Dream shows up, and he of course outdoes Adam Cole, and he shows up in a yellow Lambo with the doors that don't open regularly. They lift up. Suicide doors. Is that what you call them? I don't know. And then he steps out of his Lambo and he has Lucille in his hand. That was pretty cool. I like that outfit, paying homage to Negan of The Walking Dead. Love that show. Can't wait for it to come back on. I guess you wouldn't say it was Lucille. I guess you would say it was more like her ugly cousin Helga because it didn't have any barbed wire. It didn't have any barbed wire wrapping around the bed. Anyway, the ring is surrounded with cars. The cars have their lights on. Cole is standing on his truck, sitting on his truck, and he's yelling into the ring where Dream is, saying, fight me, fight me like a man, put the bat away. Um, but the match is anything goes, so I'm not sure what was going on there. If it's anything goes, I mean, weapons, the interferences, whatever. So Dream tries to uh, get inside the head of Cole. He threw a scarf in his face, and then he went for a quick roll up. Next, Adam Cole teases leaving the match, and he gets inside of a car. The Dream then beats the car. He doesn't break any windows, but he beats the body of the car, and he finally gets Cole out because Adam Cole didn't lock the door. If I'm gonna try to escape somewhere, I'm gonna lock the freaking door, and I'm probably gonna drive away. He didn't lock the door though. And then next, this was probably the most awkward, misplaced, misjudged spot of of the night. There was a soccer mom fan who drove up, and she was an Uber driver. She said, "Did someone call an Uber?" I'm not gonna lie, I chuckled at this, but it was just super awkward and misplaced. I don't know what the point of that was. You then have Adam Cole, who's I guess incapacitated. He's been thrown into the windshield and he can't move. He's bleeding from somewhere. You've got the Undisputed Era who comes out, the Attack Dream. They then throw like 15, 20 chairs inside of the ring, just making a bed of steel chairs. Oh, excuse me. And then Roderick Strong, he goes to the outside and he goes for one more chair. Although this chair has some demonic forces behind it. The chair is pulled under the ring. Roderick Strong, of course, he's shocked by that. He's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And then this guy crawls out from under the ring. I don't know who he is. Cole then crawls back to the ring because he realizes that his buddies are no longer there to help him because the blonde guy put them in the trunk and he drove away. So there you go, Adam Cole. You're not gonna be able to cheat your way through this one, even though it's anything goes. Cole then hits the Panama Sunrise, though inches away from the bed of steel chairs. But in the end, Adam Cole wins the match and he continues his 370 plus day title reign by hitting the Panama Sunrise and this time not missing the bed of steel chairs. It was a decent match. It wasn't the best. I feel like they could have done a lot better. I like the setup. I like how cinematic it was. The match was pretty anticlimactic, I would say. I mean, you got the run in from Roderick Strong and the other guy. Next up, we've got Tommaso Ciampa versus Karrion Kross. I'm not too familiar with Karrion Kross, but he is an intimidating looking guy. And is Tommaso Ciampa, is he a face now? It was a quick match, and I'm super happy about that. That was super refreshing with all the other matches going. Would you take like over 10 minutes or something like that? Um, Basically, Ciampa, he dominated, or he got dominated the whole entire match by Karrion Kross. There's one good spot that Ciampa got in is where he hit a DDT on Kross coming into the ring, but to no avail. He lost the match because I wouldn't say he got submitted, but he got put out. He didn't tap though. Ciampa did not tap, but he did get put to sleep by Karrion Kross. The last match, we have a triple threat for the NXT Women's Championship, and I did not know that Charlotte Flair was the NXT Women's Champion. Why is that? I thought she was in the WWE. Why are they giving her the championship? She has won WWE Women's Championship multiple times. Get into the match. Charlotte Flair, of course, she's a heel. She rolls out of the ring, and then she sneaks back in, and she takes advantage of Io Shirai's roll up. A couple of flare chops. Whoa! There was a sloppy Hurricane Rana on Charlotte to the outside. Then there was a back and forth with Flair and Shirai. Flair gets the Boston Crab. Ripley returns to the ring, and then she dominates Flair until Io Shirai shows back up. I would say the beginning of this match, probably the first good half of it, was sloppy. You then see a devastating springboard dropkick by Shirai onto, was it Rhea Ripley? And then Flair capitalizes when Shirai, she starts to gloat, gets a little bit cocky. Ripley destroys the house plant. My gosh, what kind of sick animal do you have to be to destroy something of the earth? Disgusting. But in the end, Io Shirai wins the championship. Charlotte Flair had Rhea Ripley into a submission, and Io Shirai took advantage of that, and she did a move off the top rope, and she got the pin, so she's the champion. I would say the match definitely started off very sloppy, very slow, uncoordinated, but in the end, it was pretty decent. Anyway, this is my NXT In Your House review. Thank you guys for watching.